The idea of getting married was one of the things that we were taught right probably from 4 or 5 years old. That was put up as the most important goal. Is you got to get married. You got to find the one that is your number one choice. And you had this idea of a number one choice.
Really?
And so you had to pray and ask the Lord, who's your number one choice, because you made this decision before you came down here. And you made an agreement. You got these kids that are waiting to come to that particular union. And so you promised them that you would do this. And so you have to find out who that is.
And then that probably makes so the prophet has a lot more control and say and influence. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you choose your wife there?
So we have like a teaching that you have to get direction. You pray and fast and do all this stuff, and you get a dream or an inspiration, and then you talk to your parents, and then they say, okay, I think that's a good thing. This person that you're looking at is a decent person or whatever, they're acceptable.
Sure.
So then you can talk to the leader, and then if the leader says that's okay, then you can talk to their mom and dad, and then if they say it's okay, then you can talk to the girl. So you have this big, huge chain that you have to go through to talk to them.
Would the person you be talking to was the current leader, Jacob, right?
Paul.
Paul, yeah, sorry. Paul. So he would be the one you were talking to. Was he older than you?
Yeah, he's the same age as my brother, who is 3. So there's 2 sisters between me and him. So he's 3 kids older than me.
So pretty much you'd go to your brother and be like, hey, I like this girl. Yeah. What do you think?
Right.
And you're saying you weren't the favorite, so
it was pretty hard. He would either say, yeah, we should pray about this a little more, we should do this. Or what most often happened is 2 weeks later, then this girl would get married to someone else.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, tears your heart out. Man,
I wanted her.
She's so cute. Or whatever,
Okay.
And sometimes she would tell me, I got to talk to the girl quite often, but it would just never work out. I think I counted it up one time, and I went through this process more than 30 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. So you had this girl in your sights 30 times, and you're like, do you get to know him pretty good before you talk to Jake or Paul? Decent.
You talk to Paul before you talk to them. But you also have dances. The organization has dances at the time that I was growing up, it was once a month we'd have a dance. And so everybody would get together and they would dance with people. And there wasn't a lot of rules for the dance at that point. You couldn't hold real close or hug each other or whatever, but you could dance with whoever you wanted.
Yeah, that's definitely a contrast to the FLDS, at least growing up in my day. I think my mom and those guys would have dances, but for us, there was no dances.
Wow. How did you guys get to know people?
No, the prophet just arranged your marriage in the FLDS, 100%. I've heard a lot of different people's stories. They have no idea. They're out just working, and they get a phone call, and they come into the prophet's office, and here's your wife. Let's marry you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different stories like that. And even all dad's wives, they all have a wedding story of some sort or another, and it's all like that. Prophet calls, and bam, you're married, and you move out. And so, yeah, I guess in that sense, the Kingstons are more open. But
a little bit, but the thing that's behind the scenes is the prophet or the leader is looking and arranging everything ahead of time, because his sons have priority. His sons and the people who are loyal to him. He's going to make sure things work out for them better, and whoever's just kind of back in the back, or whoever doesn't jump up and be super loyal, then they push back and they can wait.
I'm still interested how we got to get to the bottom of how you actually got married.
Yeah, so basically once I had this dream, and I talked to my mom, and then I talked to the leader, and at this time it was my older brother, because my dad had died in 1987, and so this is 1998. And so
what year were you born?
I was born in 67.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm an old fart.
Okay.
So yeah, I was 30, coming up on my 31st birthday.
Yeah.
And so my wife was 19. I talked to everybody in this chain, And everybody's, yeah, that would be good.
So your mother, the prophet,
my mother, the
Paul,
prophet, her parents, everybody's, yeah, go ahead and talk to her. And so and in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, this is just like any other thing. And so when I talked to her, like I could see in her eyes as soon as I started talking to her that she was like so excited. And it kind of scared me, because I'm like, oh my heck, this might actually happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like afraid for a minute. Oh, I didn't actually ever think this might happen, because 30 times I'm getting shot down every time. It puts you in this autopilot mode where you just, okay, we'll try again, keep trying. So we talk and we're like, oh yeah, this would be so awesome. And she's, yeah, I want to do that. And so I'm like, wow. And so I was like, you know what, let's pray about this for the next 2 weeks, because I'm working at the mine. She lives in the Woods Cross area. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, let's pray about this and let's find out if this is what we need to do. And in 2 weeks, I'll have another day off of work and I'll come back and we can talk it over and figure it out. And so she's, yeah, this is awesome. And so I'm like halfway excited and halfway scared. And we go through this thing in 2 weeks. We come back and, yeah, let's do this. Let's get married. So then it was like, wow, this is real. Oh my heck, it's finally working out. And super excited and super happy. And we planned everything out, and so we're like, okay, so when should we get married? And we think it out, and okay, let's do it in 2 weeks. So we had like a 2 week praying, filling it out, fasting, and then a 2 week engagement to get everything ready. And we didn't want to do it, like next week, which is something that the Kingston group is like really common, is like do it as soon as possible. And I think it's halfway, because once you make a decision, you don't want them to back out, or you don't want them to get scared. Yeah. You don't want them to...
Yeah, because if you have 6 months...
Yeah.
I mean...
You get to know each other and like, yeah, this guy's kind of a jerk. I don't know.
He's spending too much time with his other wives.
Yeah. So they really push it to make it happen really quickly. And I think the policy right now is that the engagement can't be more than 6 months. That's like the rule. But back then they didn't have all these structured rules, because they were still kind of figuring everything out. But we just decided we just wanted to do it fast, get it done. Then 2 weeks we figured, that's enough time to make a wedding dress, get someone to make a cake, plan the thing out. We already have like the place where we're doing church is like available. We can just use that, so we don't have to find a venue. We just need a little bit of decoration.
Who made this wedding dress?
My wife's mother, my mother-in-law.
Okay, sewed it up. Is it simple, or is it fancy?
It's pretty simple, but it's nice. It's a nice dress. It's really pretty. It has little beads and fringes and things like that.
My dad got really picky about FLDS dresses, and
really,
but also he would a lot of times just marry people in their normal dress.
Really?
Yeah, just bring them in from, hey, they're walking by, marry them. But the wedding dresses later on, either they weren't really wedding dresses, almost exactly just like the normal dresses, just a little bit stylier and just simple, for sure not dragging or anything.
Yeah, she had the pretty long train that kind of drags out behind you, and the white wedding dress with the beads and all the stuff. And her mom and her aunt helped make this. Maybe the aunt made the most of it, because her mom made the cake. And so, I think it was the aunt.
Is this massive cake, or?
Yeah, it was probably like 4 layers high, pretty big old thing. And I think the top layer was the only one that was like actual cake, and the rest was styrofoam with frosting on or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And my mother-in-law was really into doing cakes and things like that. And so she's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'll do that for you guys. And so we did everything in 2 weeks.
Do you have to pay for stuff, or?
We had to, get a wedding ring and an engagement ring. We had to get the.
How much did you pay?
I got it at one of our pawn shops.
Okay. Kingston pawn shop.
Yeah. And
all
so
right.
It was. I think mine was like $100 and hers was like $70.
All right.
So
back in that day, that was.
Which is probably more like $400 or $500
yeah.
now, because of inflation.
Right. You get this ring. You get the cake, you make the dress, and how's the wedding ceremony? Is it
a big old party? We have a friend that puts together music, and we use the church area for our wedding venue. And we have a big old Kingston dance for our thing.
That's what you do at weddings,
Yeah.
is a Kingston dance.
Kingston dance with a program. They'll have like a funny song where they tell jokes about the bride and groom.
Did you get roasted?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And it's fun.
Sure.
It's awesome.
It's all in fun.
And we probably recorded it on an old VHS tape somewhere.
Okay.
And then we have a dance afterwards. The father and daughter dance, the bride and groom dance, all these fun things. And so then we get married and have our dance and our wedding reception. We actually went on a honeymoon. We went to
did you?
Honduras on a Caribbean cruise.
Wow.
Down through the Honduras and southern Mexico out in the Caribbean Ocean. A lot of fun.
So the Kingstons go on. Do they still do honeymoons?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty common. There's probably a few that don't do a huge thing, but most of them do pretty good.
So down there on the Caribbean, do you take your shirt off and
get sunburned?
Yeah, just like everybody else, or do you sit down there on the beach with a full shirt on?
Yeah, I was down on the beach with just swim trunks on.
Okay.
I got sunburned real bad because I was out in the water doing snorkeling, and the water's kind of splashing on you all the time, so you don't realize that you're getting burned.
Yeah.
And so that next day I wake up,
shit. Yeah.
all red like a lobster.
The only reason I'm asking is because it's so funny as FLDS people, and I've even seen other groups as well. They go down to the beach, they go over to Hawaii, and they're out there with a full regular cowboy shirt on, maybe plaid or something, and old blue jeans just on the beach. The Kingstons definitely don't take the dress code and that kind of stuff as seriously as some of the other groups, but they're still very controlling. And so in some sense that's confusing because they look normal and they even live sometimes in the city like you were saying, but they're still very controlling. And the other thing is these girls, they can't get above 20 before they're gone. So I was going to ask you, what's the ratio there? Because is there some guys that end up just they can't find somebody?
Yeah, there's always a lot of boys that get to 30, 35, 40 years old and they can't find someone. And they encourage them to go out and find someone that's on the outside.
Do they?
Marry them, bring them in. Some of them, they'll go to some of the FLDS functions and try and get some of you guys as girls and swipe them from you guys.
Oh, shit. We're at war now.
Yeah. And so there's always this competition. And you can tell who's the favorites because the favorites get married when they're like 15 and 16, favorite boys. Wow. And then the less favorite boys, they get married around 17, 18, 19. And then the ones that are not so pushy, not in the favorite family, then they're 20, 25, 30. Maybe they'll get married, maybe they won't.
I'll bet there's some arrogant boys over there that get married early and just are arrogant little bitches.
Yeah.